Harvest Moon series is a pretty laid-back farming sim that's fairly grounded in reality, with a few fantasy elements that vary in importance among entries. I personally prefer when the fantasy aspects aren't as integral to the game's story and mechanics, but I still enjoy a lot of the ones that do have that. Then, for the series' 10th anniversary, Marvelous released a farming game that goes all in with the fantasy elements and introduced many classic JRPG mechanics to the formula. Rune Factory is appropriately subtitled a fantasy Harvest Moon, given the prevalent use of magic and fighting monsters. The game begins with your character waking up in the town of Katria, with no memory of who he is or why he's here. Luckily, you meet a girl named Mist, who just so happens to have a nice house and large plot of land for you to live and work on while you find a way to recover your lost memories. One aspect that immediately caught my attention was the graphics. From my understanding, it looks like the environments are 2D images with interactable objects like people and plants placed over them. Which means that we can have a pretty and detailed game world on the DS, and the 3D objects still look pleasing even on a 2-dimensional background. The character designs are very nice too, and lay a lot more into an anime style. Yes, the mainline Harvest Moon game characters have an anime style as well, but Rune Factory has a stronger stylization in that regard. Which is appropriate, given that the game is a blend of farming sim and JRPG. Raising crops is pretty much the same as it is in the mainline Harvest Moon games. For maximum efficiency, you till a 3x3 plot of land, plant the seeds, and water them each day. However, crops are more than just a way for you to generate profit. Rune Factory features a mechanic called Rune Points, or RP, which acts as a kind of stamina point system. As you use your tools, your RP will deplete. Once your RP is completely exhausted, using tools will then start to consume your HP. In order to restore RP, you need to generate what are called Runies. Runies will appear whenever you have 9 squares of fully grown crops. Collecting them will restore 25% of your maximum RP. Keeping your RP at a healthy level will also help keep your HP at a healthy level. Which is important, because if you die in a cave, then it's game over, and you'll have to reload your last save. The caves in Rune Factory are filled with monsters that you need to defeat in order to progress through the story, and learn more about the sinister nature of the Sex Empire. Yes, that's what they're called. It's the German word for six. However, the game makes it clear that you aren't killing the monsters, but rather sending them back to their original world. And yet, after you defeat them, you'll occasionally pick up monster parts like insect wings and demon blood. I guess you could technically take those things without killing the monsters, but the way it's presented is a lot like how one would pick up loot from their kills. It seems that even in spin-offs, Marvelous has a strict no-killing rule for their farming games. Well, except for when they don't. Additionally, there are no livestock merchants in the game, so in order to collect animal-based products like wool and eggs, you need to make the monsters your friends. To do that, you have to pet the monsters into submission with a special glove, and they'll be sent to a monster hut that you need to build. You can also take them with you as allies when you explore caves. Another important feature to the caves is that they all have various plots of land where you can plant crops. That way, you'll be able to generate rupees in order to restore RP as you're working through the caves. You might even say that by doing so, you're creating your very own rune factories. Because that's what the game is called. The caves also have their own specific seasonal environments for crops, which allows you to grow certain seasonal crops inside the caves, even if the season doesn't match on the outside. You know what that means? Pineapples all year, bitches! I'm also not sure how these crops are able to grow without any sunlight, but I guess that's why it's called a fantasy Harvest Moon. But while pineapples are still the most lucrative crops that you can now plant year-round, they're still not nearly as lucrative as mining. Mining has always been a decent way to make money in Harvest Moon, but in Rune Factory, it's downright broken. In the third cave, which can be accessed very early in-game, all you need is a hammer that's been upgraded at least once. Then, by using the first level hammer charge on the mining rocks, you'll quickly accumulate a lot of gems and ores in a single trip, which can then be sold for tens of thousands of gold coins. Keep doing that, and you'll earn the required 200,000 G needed to build your house expansion in no time. And the house expansion is something you'll want to get as soon as you can. That's why you're able to craft items like accessories and medicine, which is a lot cheaper than buying them. Plus, there are a lot of powerful items that you can make that aren't even available in stores. At first you won't be able to make many things, but the more you craft, the more experience you gain, and the more you'll be able to create. It should also be noted that if you fail to create an item, you won't lose the raw materials, and you'll still gain experience. So you can keep trying to make an item you have a low chance of success with, so long as you have the RP and patience for it. Which is a good thing, considering many ingredients only come from monster drops, and it's actually pretty uncommon for a defeated monster to leave something behind. Marriage is also present in the game, and there are several unique bachelorettes to choose from. However, the game tries to push you and Miss together with how much she's involved in your journey, and how prevalent she is in the opening cutscene. But I said screw that, and married the nurse Lara instead. Because frankly, Miss is a little creepy with how she just barges into your house without permission whenever it's raining. She's just there waiting for you whenever you went to your home in the afternoon on a rainy day. Do you fucking mind, bitch? There's no blue feather in the game, but each girl has specific requirements in order for them to marry you, some of which are easier than others. However, you don't need to complete the main storyline before you can get married, so you can do either of those things at your own pace. There's also unfortunately no hard events, but having different requirements for marrying each of the bachelorettes is still an interesting addition. Your wife will also eventually have a child. After 150 days? That's over a whole year, the longest length of time to have a kid in any of the Harvest Moon related games. And the payoff isn't really worth it either, so I just grabbed a screenshot from the Rune Factory wiki for a visual demonstration. There's no pregnancy event before the birth either, you just wake up one morning and suddenly baby. You don't even get to name it. For having to wait 5 seasons, it's a little underwhelming to say the least. Even though I've been a long-time Harvest Moon fan, I actually have to admit that I don't really have that much experience with the Rune Factory games. But I'm glad I finally got around to playing one, because I enjoyed it a lot. Combat mechanics are pretty simple, but fighting monsters, crafting items, and other JRPG activities fit right in with the farming simulation we all know and love. It's too bad that there are no hard events and having a child is pretty lackluster, but there's at least a nice variety of bachelorettes to choose from. I know there's a lot more Rune Factory I need to catch up on, but I think it'll be interesting to see what each one has in store. Thanks so much for watching! If you enjoyed the video, be sure to click like, and subscribe if you want to see more.